Systemic corruption doesn't look like a bank heist. It functions as a continuous, quiet extraction of public funds, hidden inside thousands of microscopic, disconnected transactions. A modern state apparatus is massive. It encompasses national ministries, provincial agencies, and hundreds of local municipalities, each operating their own independent budgets. A monopolistic contractor exploits this exact scale. Instead of extracting one massive, highly visible payout, they break their revenue stream into thousands of small, low-profile contracts distributed across the entire system. Look at physical infrastructure, like a major transit hub. Constructing and maintaining a facility of this size requires thousands of layered budgets for planning, construction, maintenance, and daily operations. Inside those layers, a single private entity might appear in dozens of unrelated local spreadsheets. They extract only a tiny fraction of their total state income from each individual contract. The databases holding these local budgets are entirely isolated. The Municipal Transit Authority's ledger does not communicate with the Provincial Infrastructure Fund. Publishing 15,000 independent budget spreadsheets creates an illusion of transparency. If citizens cannot cross-reference those files, the raw data is effectively useless. Administrative fragmentation is not a bureaucratic accident. It is the primary logistical exploit designed specifically to make state monopolies invisible to the public. Tracking the total state revenue of a single corporate entity hits an immediate physical limit for any human investigator. Locating, verifying, and cross-referencing just one contract inside a standard fragmented state procurement portal takes hours of manual navigation. Repeating that manual verification process for tens of thousands of potential microtransactions across hundreds of isolated agencies is mathematically impossible for a human to finish. Corrupt networks do not rely on perfect secrecy. They rely entirely on this mathematical guarantee of human exhaustion. Swapping out politicians will not fix this. The vulnerability is a structural engineering flaw in the state's financial architecture itself. To permanently stop systemic theft, the public must engineer a financial grid that is physically and cryptographically unhackable. Physically centralizing all state financial data into one giant monolithic database creates a massive security risk, providing a single target for bad actors. The first architectural fix utilizes virtual private networks, or VPNs. A VPN establishes a secure, encrypted connection over the internet between a device and a network, allowing data to be transmitted safely. These VPN tunnels connect distinct, isolated databases into an invisible, unified web, aggregating the information without ever moving the actual host data. This digital infrastructure scales to span the entire state territory, reaching every municipal server and provincial archive. When an investigator searches for a contractor, a digital query travels through these secure tunnels to fetch specific financial data and bring it back to the user. This architecture operates with a distinct stealth advantage. Local corrupt officials do not know when their specific digital silo is being audited, as the query pulls the data without triggering an alert. VPN aggregation neutralizes the fragmentation exploit. It unifies the state's data strictly at the exact moment of inquiry, providing total oversight without creating a centralized target. Even with VPNs, a vulnerability remains. A local official could simply hit delete on a corrupt contract before the query even arrives. The second structural fix solves this by using worm memory. Worm stands for write once, read many, a type of data storage device where information, once written, cannot be modified or erased. Worm establishes a physical and cryptographic barrier that makes data deletion mechanically impossible. Data immutability requires specific physical storage architecture, hardware designed from the ground up to enforce append-only constraints. This secure hardware stands in stark contrast to the vulnerable legacy infrastructure where state records are currently kept, where data can easily be rolled back or overwritten. Consider a hypothetical scenario. A massive, undocumented cost overrun occurs on a public project. The standard protocol for a corrupt official is to alter the original digital contract file to quietly hide the new inflated numbers. The worm architecture actively intercepts this exact command, refusing the deletion at the hardware level. The system accepts the new annexed contract data, but it is forced to permanently lock the original contract directly beneath it. This creates an unerasable historical timeline. Updates are allowed, but the past can never be hidden. Worm memory alters the logistics of theft. Every attempt at a cover-up becomes a permanent, undeniable confession written into the state's bedrock. The grid is now fully connected by VPN tunnels and permanently locked down by worm memory. Even with perfect, immutable data, citizens cannot manually read millions of lines of state ledger code. The final component is the AI auditor, functioning as an instant aggregation engine. A citizen investigator simply types a natural language query, asking the system to calculate a company's exact total state revenue across all contracts. The AI translates the text, fires requests down the VPN tunnels, and pulls the immutable worm data simultaneously. Artificial intelligence solves the final hurdle of systemic theft, doing in seconds what would take a human auditor 3 lifetimes. The AI instantly calculates the sum of 15,000 scattered microtransactions to output one massive, undeniable dollar amount. This calculation destroys the fragmentation exploit, exposing state monopolies that were previously hidden in administrative noise. This architectural design addresses systemic theft as a logistical problem with a strict engineering solution. We no longer need to rely on the moral trust of politicians. We can rely on mathematical and physical guarantees. This architecture takes the very tool corrupt actors use to hide and weaponizes it to make democratic budget control a mechanical certainty.